bitterness doesn't punish the other person. It poisons the one who drinks it. Welcome back to For Soul's Sake. Today I want to talk about something that sounds beautiful when we say it, but is deeply difficult when life actually tests us on it. Forgiving others.
For soul's sake, for soul's sake.
The kind of forgiveness that requires our heart to soften, even when we've been hurt. Because let's be honest, most of us are not struggling to forgive someone who made a tiny little mistake. We're struggling to forgive that person who knew what they were doing. The person who betrayed us. The person who caused real pain to us. The person who never even apologized to us. And in that space, forgiveness can feel like it's weakness. It can feel like letting someone get away with it. Or it can feel like we're betraying ourselves. So today I want to approach forgiveness through the lens of the scriptures, not as a moral lecture, but as a doorway to your freedom. And there's one prayer that every time I hear it, it humbles me. It's the prayer of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad, a young saint, had a father called Hiranyakashipu. His father is described as envious, as violent, as intoxicated by power, and not just generally violent towards his own son, because Prahlad was a devotee. Imagine that. Your father, your own father, becomes your persecutor, not because you did something wrong, but because you chose God. So Hiranyakashipu tries to kill Prahlad again and again. Prison, weapons, torture, threats. And yet when God actually appears ferociously as Nrsingadev and offers Prahlad any benediction, Prahlad asks for one thing only, not liberation. He doesn't ask for wealth. He doesn't ask for protection. He doesn't even ask for revenge. Essentially, he says, "My Lord, please forgive my father." Try to feel the weight of that, because many of us, if we're in that moment, might say, "My Lord, please remove this person from my life." We might say, "My Lord, let them understand what they did to me," or even, "God, give them what they deserve." But Prahlad's heart doesn't move in that direction. See, his prayer is excuse him. And that's not ordinary goodness. That's a different species of consciousness. And the scriptures give a name to it. Para dukkha dukkhi. It means to feel pain when we see others in pain. And not just the pain of our friends, but even the pain of those who have harmed us. Because a purified devotee of God doesn't measure life only through my comfort and my inconvenience. They measure their life through compassion. Here's something astonishing about Prahlad. In all the suffering he endured, the texts say that he didn't meditate on the cruelty. He didn't become obsessed with the hate. He didn't build his identity around the trauma. Instead, Prahlad remembered the tiny spark of affection that his father sometimes showed him. Just a speck. But Prahlad chose to see that speck. And that is one of the deepest practices of forgiveness. To train ourselves to find the smallest fragment of good, even in someone full of faults. Now, this doesn't mean we deny reality. It doesn't mean we call abuse love. It doesn't mean we stay in harmful situations, but it means we refuse to let bitterness become our home. See, because bitterness doesn't punish the other person. It poisons the one who drinks it. And then there's another story that reveals something about God himself. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear about Putana. She comes to Vrindavan with a single goal, to kill little baby Krishna. Not hurt him, kill him. And she disguises herself as a beautiful, kind woman. She carries poison on her breast, lethal poison. And she picks up the baby, puts the poisoned breast into his mouth, and Krishna, in the form of a baby, drinks her milk and then drinks her very life air. And she's liberated. Now here's the point that bends my mind, that Krishna doesn't focus on her intention. He focuses on the tiny act that looked like motherly service, as if he's saying, "You came with poison, yes, but you offered me milk, and I accept that fragment." And God grants her liberation. even a motherly position in the spiritual world. That's the mercy of God. God is looking for reasons not to condemn us. He's looking for reasons to redeem. And then the teaching turns towards us. If God is so eager to see our good, then why are we so eager to see others bad? There's a phrase attributed to Srila Prabhupada A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami that I love. He said it's like finding pod marks in the moon, meaning that a devotee may have some blemishes, some old conditioning, some lingering habits, but if they sincerely want Krishna, that desire is like the full moon. So why are we obsessing over the tiny marks? In the same way, when someone is sincerely chanting and trying, the devotee doesn't fixate on the remaining dirt of that person. The devotee celebrates the cleansing. A true devotee of God, of Krishna, is like a honeybee. Even in a garbage dump, the honeybee searches for one flower, one trace of nectar, one scent of devotion. And when it finds it, it goes right to the essence. But a materialistic person, a materialistic mind is like a fly. Even in a beautiful garden full of flowers, it will search for one speck of stool, and it will ignore everything else just to taste that. Sometimes we enjoy fault finding. Sometimes we savor criticism. Sometimes gossip feels like nectar. And the teaching is saying, be careful, because the mind becomes what it repeatedly tastes. If you are repeatedly tasting faults, you become bitter. If you repeatedly taste devotion, you become soft. So the tradition of bhakti teaches that among the qualities of a devotee, one of the most prominent is forgiveness. A devotee is anxious to forgive, not because they're naive, but because they understand something, that holding grudges is a form of bondage, and forgiveness is a form of liberation. Then there's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna incarnate 500 years ago, taking the form as a devotee of God. A man comes to Sri Chaitanya whose whole occupation is finding faults, even in saints, even in God. And he criticizes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, condemning him, humiliating him, and yet Sri Chaitanya doesn't retaliate. He becomes more humble. He takes it as a correction, not because the critic is correct, but because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart is so free from ego that even an insult can't disturb him. There's a really special teaching there. Don't know if you caught it. The Lord may not forgive offenses done to his devotees, but the devotee forgives quickly. It's because love wants to liberate, not punish us. And then closer to our times, Srila Prabhupada, my grandfather guru, who goes to the West and he meets people with heavy conditioning, heavy intoxication, addiction, confusion, anger, lust, the whole lot. And what does he do? He doesn't begin by condemning everybody. He doesn't try to punish everyone. He looks for one little spark. He looks for that one desire to chant. He looks for that one who's willing to try, and he glorifies that spark because he's looking for gold, not dirt. And from that whole blossoming, glorious bhakti movement is born. And this quality that we're talking about is not limited to one path, this bhakti path. We see even when Jesus Christ is being tortured, being mocked, being nailed to the cross, he prays, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. That is paradukha dukhi. Not tears for oneself, tears for the ignorance of others. So let's make it practical. Try this as a personal practice. 1, just watch your mind and see what it chews on. Is it chewing on someone's faults, replaying it, replaying it, or is it chewing on the tiny good that still exists? 2, separate boundaries from bitterness. You can forgive and still have boundaries. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you give anyone access to you. 3, pray for the person. Even if you can't do it sincerely at first, just begin with, my Lord, help me see them as a soul. Because prayer softens what logic can't. And 4, remember. You become what you repeatedly speak. If you repeatedly speak faults, you become fault-focused. If you repeatedly glorify devotion, you become devotion-focused. So today I'm leaving you with a question, not as a judgment, but as a reflection. Am I moving through life like a honeybee or like a fly? Am I training my heart to find Krishna in others, or am I training my mind to find defects? And can I take one small step towards forgiveness, not because the other person deserves it, but because my heart deserves peace? May we learn from Prahlad. May we learn from the Lord who forgives even Putana. May we learn to see the gold. May we become the kind of people whose presence gives others hope. Hare Krishna. If you enjoyed this podcast, you're sure to appreciate my conversation with Janavi Harrison, where we delve into the crossroads of spirituality, progress, and relationships whilst I was in India.
Creativity and being artful is something that everyone has and everyone can access. And I think it's more about, again, connecting to that deeper place within ourselves of intuition and playfulness, the sense of lightness, which can be quite hard in life. There's a lot of things to feel heavy about, but we are much more like that naturally as children.